IRLP. I think a lot of you may already aware of the program, but to give a bit of an indication on where it sits and what it's all about, um, kind of give you a bit of a, an indication on what happens. And this is one that we put together for the club a while back. It's a little older, but I've updated a few of the items in it. And it's another feature that we have here on Manitoulin. And if you don't have digital radio, let's say you just have an analog radio, you can work around the world and talk to other amateurs from your uh, dual band handheld or mobile radio or base station radio on UHF. Ours is UHF, but there's a lot of VHF IRLP stations out there. So first of all, your acronyms, right? Manitoulin Amateur Radio Club is always, and other amateurs are always wondering, what does an acronym stand for? Well, IRLP was the Internet Radio Linking Project. And this was developed way back, way before the digital world came on to the amateur market. This was something prior to using, to connect repeaters together using the internet versus terrestrial links to repeater. Years and years ago, when we were first dealing with repeaters on Manitoulin, we would have a link radio, and the link radio would be, say we had a 2-meter repeater, we would put a link radio connected to the controller. You'd key up a couple of DTMF codes, and that would turn on the link radio, which would have a separate antenna beamed towards another link radio at another repeater, and in turn it would be interfaced into that particular repeater, and that's how two repeaters would be linked over terrestrial over RF linking. And if the repeaters were close enough and the RF signal was good, you'd have a good link. But sometimes with conditions and band fading and everything else, these links weren't secure all the time, and sometimes they would work and sometimes they wouldn't. So the Internet Radio Relay linking project was introduced. So the history of it, we can be very proud that it was developed in Canada. It was developed by a British Columbia amateur by the name of Dave Cameron. His call is V7LTD, and he wanted to link repeaters in British Columbia using the internet. Now this is way before. Now everybody, it's second nature that you can link with the repeaters in general. But before, it was something not heard about. It started in November 1997 with the first link from Vancouver to St. John's, New Brunswick. So right across, literally coast to coast across Canada. And that worked extremely well. And people thought there's no way that you
If everybody could mute their mic, that would be great.
Yeah. And that, it shut down in March of 1998 due to numerous computer crashes, repeater lockups, and lack of user control on it. So the first initial stages on how to run this was very confusing. And of course, they were using the Windows protocol. And as everybody that owns a Windows type based computer, eventually what would happen with that is it would, you'd have to reboot your computer if you got a lockup. Well, sometimes these were difficult because these computers were at repeater sites, and access to them were somewhat difficult. So a little bit about the designer, David Cameron, where he lived at the time, and talking about putting personal information. He posted all this information on the internet about himself and that with it. But Dave is still very active in the IRLP system today, and does a great job at doing servicing and helping amateurs and that to get to it. He had a good friend, or has a good friend in Australia that took it on and did all of Australia. This is VK2 YX, and along with Dave, a picture of them enjoying some beer there, Guinness, I think, or something. I forget what the heck it is, but anyway, they're having a good time. So the history. Well, basically, oops, sorry. Better design was made using technology while improving usability, user control, and sound quality. Sound
Al,
quality, yeah.
looking at those cans, I think it was Smithwick's, not Guinness.
Okay, could very well be.
It was Kilkenny.
Oh, Kilkenny could be that too.
Kilkenny, yeah. And
Kilkenny.
Al, which is which of those two guys?
Okay, sorry. The fella in the blue shirt is Dave Cameron, V7 LTD. The gentleman in the white shirt is, and I don't know his name, it's VK2YK. You can probably look it up on the
Okay,
QRZ or
thanks.
something. Yeah, yeah. So they're the two masterminds of the IRLP system. So what they wanted to do was do a better design was made using the same technology while improving usability, user control, and sound quality. The issue with getting all the levels of the sound together, and we've seen that here on Zoom, right? Some of you have said some of us are extremely loud, some others are having a hard time hearing others with it. It's because how do we have our microphones adjusted, the level settings in our Zoom controls compared to our computers? Everything gets a little mishmash. So the same thing happened when they first started putting these systems together. Windows was replaced with a more stable operating system called Linux, right? And Linux is used on a lot of the D-Star, System Fusion controlling features because Linux rarely crashes. It's very stable and can be used in a remote area with having not to worry about it too much. Dave designed his own interface board to interface with the repeater to the computer and that with it, which worked extremely well. And then the final product was a combination of hardware and software that created a seamless radio link between two repeaters using the internet that many people cannot believe that they are talking through a link at all. And this was his overall goal, and he was able to accomplish it. And today IRLP is one of the linking or the head linking systems used throughout the world with VHF and UHF. So there are modes, okay? There are two types within that. The first one, there are two types of connections between an IRLP connection. The first is one-to-one via a node. So you can have a node V3AJB talks to V3WVA. We both have nodes in our homes and we can talk to one another using this system. The other system is one-to-many via a reflector. And a node is also known as a repeater too. So one-to-one via a repeater or a node, and one-to-many being a reflector. And I think a lot of you through D-Star and System Fusion and DMR know that a reflector is a server with a lot of bandwidth that a lot of people can connect to. And that was the first thinking of it, where a repeater node A connects direct with repeater node B. So now you have two repeaters that are now connected. Anybody on the repeater A can talk to repeater B and vice versa. That was the main concept. And with this type of link, the two nodes are interconnected and no other IRLP connections are possible. This is one of the downsides with it. Unlike All-Star or with some of the asterisks, of course, and D-Star and DMR, you can have multiple repeaters connected at the same time. But with IRLP, it's only one-to-one unless you go through a reflector. While repeaters A and B are connected, if you attempt to connect, a recording will advise node is in use. right? However, all local traffic on each repeater will be heard on the other repeater as well. So, I mean, they put the protocol in there. So let's say I had Manitoulин's repeater connected to Sudbury's repeater, but Sault Ste. Marie repeater wanted to connect into either Manitoulin or Sudbury. If they tried to connect to either one because we were already connected, they would get that recording. Node is in use, all right, which then tells the Sault Ste. Marie people that Manitoulin is busy and so is Sudbury at that time. Then we have node to node mode, which is repeater to repeater. So for instance, we have the RPT repeater in Toronto connected to the repeater in Little Current, and it goes through an IRLP server. Now these are basic point-to-point information. Prior to when all the other digital comes out, you are all way educated. This is when this first came and trying to put the concept on how the heck can I talk from Little Current to Toronto without on HF. This is when linking first started coming out and hams couldn't put their mind around how the heck am I going to talk from point A to point B without bouncing my signal off the ionosphere, right? This was the linking using the internet. The reflector connect mode. So basically, most common types of connection in use today is the wind system reflector, which is reflector 9100. This was one of the first reflector systems that came up, and I'm going to show you a lot of these. A reflector is a Linux computer that is not connected to any radio, but rather sits on a lot of internet bandwidth capable of allowing many repeaters to be interconnected at the same time. So that means you can have a reflector and it's sitting there running all kinds of the server information with all kinds of bandwidth, and it allows all kinds of repeaters from all over the world to connect to that, like our Friday night CanNet last night. We had a series of reflectors. We'll take the Manitoulin reflector, XRF 103 Bravo. Last night at the given busiest time, I think we had 30, well, maybe not that many, 26, 27 nodes or repeaters and hotspots connected to it at once. And that way everybody could hear it. And that's basically how a reflector works. At any given time, there are usually 20 to 40 repeaters around the world interconnected via this reflector, which is the wind system. And we'll show you that in a few minutes. The reflector mode. So again, showing you a diagram on how that operates. Basically, you have the IRLP reflector, and this one I'm using the Raleigh in North Carolina reflector 921. And you could have a repeater in Hawaii, Australia, United Kingdom, North Carolina, Canada, Texas, and California, all connected, and all these repeaters could talk at once, right? It's a basic, simple mode of connecting to reflectors, and I think everybody understands that. But when I was first putting out this presentation, people couldn't wrap that around their head at that time. So that's why we made things. So reflector use, a few things to remember. With reflector use, leave a gap between transmissions, because I mean we're still doing it today and learning. If you listened to the CanNet last night, there were some dropouts due to the fact that people were keying up too fast. You have to allow the lag time on the repeaters to catch up with one another, and that's why if you leave a gap rather than a quick key up after somebody talks, it works well. The three main rules when connected to a reflector: first thing to do is pause. The second thing to do is pause, or three. So the three rule count: 1, 1000, 2, 1000, 3, 1000, key up and talk, right? With multiple node squelch radios in the links between the repeaters and the link radio, this causes a delay. So there is a delay, and even in the digital world without squelch radios, there's a delay there too. It's not a huge delay, but there is a little bit of a delay with it. By leaving a pause between transmissions, it allows users on other nodes a chance to check in. It also allows other node time to send touch tone commands to drop their nodes. And the most important guideline to remember is leaving a pause after pressing the push to talk button, as well as between transmissions. And that's the thing with linking, right? Versus talking on the local repeater or simplex or on HF. You don't need to leave a pause. As soon as somebody unkeys, you key right up. Well, using the internet, we have that lag time, and you need to be able to do that. So, use of the IRLP system with connecting. All nodes and reflectors have a 4-digit number. So our IRLP repeater here on Manitoulin is the V3RQQ node, and that our reflector number is 2860. You may want to write this down for memory or that with it. So basically, if you can think of your node like a telephone, well, our telephone number for the Manitoulin RQQ repeater is 2860. Something that you need to remember. Simply punch in the 4-digit code with your touchtone pad on your microphone or handy talkie. So you would, if you were in another repeater that had IRLP, you would pick it up, push 2860, and automatically that repeater would then, through the internet, connect to our computer up on the hill that has 2860, and it would allow the links to open to one another. Wait for connect announcement and beep and listen for clear and give call sign and location. This is V3AJB on the Manitoulin link, right? So that way. So just basic information to do, and start talking, having fun with your QSO on the linking information that way. Announcing your presence. With IRLP, your transmission is now being heard on many repeaters and of course around the world, and others need to know information other than just a call sign as you do on your local repeater. So I would, if I connected to an international reflector around the world, this is V3AJB, Al here in Little Current, Ontario on the V3RQQ node. That allows other listeners around the world to know, okay, you know, Canadian calling from Northern Ontario in Little Current. Give call sign phonetically, which is easily, I think we all understand that. Give your name and QTH and monitoring for a call, basically with it. Making a direct connection. Monitor local repeater for 15 to 30 seconds to make sure it's not in use. And believe me, RQQ is not a busy repeater here on Manitoulin. It's not used very much. But if all is clear, identify yourself and give the node name and number you wish to call. V3AJB for the Sydney node, right? Sydney, Australia. And you all heard the story about Carl. I don't know if Carl's on with us this morning or not, but Carl met an amateur, Jack Carmichael, our former vice president, who's silent key now. They met over the IRLP system, and that's how Carl got hooked up with the Manitoulin group, even today. So then enter the node on code and release the push to talk. So you'd enter the digit code on your DTMF and let it go. May take a few seconds to connect. The voice ID of the destination node will be transmitted back to you as well. So we'll give you a demonstration of that in a few minutes. Once connected to the node now, what do I do? Well, once connected, after hearing the confirmation ID that comes back, wait at least 15 seconds before transmitting, because the repeater may be in use. Maybe there's another local activity on that repeater. Your voice ID of your node is longer than the voice ID of their node, and the connection is not made until the ID is fully played, and I'll let you hear some of the ID connections. Their computer may be slower and hence take longer to process the connection than yours, depending on the internet connection. And press and hold the mic push to talk for a second, and then now announce your presence and your intention is such you're calling someone specifically or looking for a QSO from that particular area. And of course, if no response is heard, announce your call and drop the link with the touch tone off code. So that's as simple as it is. Disconnecting. To disconnect from the node and all reflectors, and this is kind of neat, there's a one standard disconnect node, and they use the code 73, as we all do at the end of a transmission. 73, take care, have yourself a good day. V3A, JB clear. Well, the same thing on the IRLP. All you have to do is hit 73 on your touchtone, and that disconnects. Doesn't matter what reflector, repeater, wherever you're connected, 73 will take you off there. Listen for the disconnect announcement or the link off or link clear indication. RQQ has a standard 2-hour connector timer. If the used node or reflector will connect after 2 hours. So if you connect to a certain mode or connection system, if no activity takes place, then it will automatically disconnect. What happens sometimes, people go in there, they listen, they connect to a certain reflector, and then all of a sudden their phone rings or the doorbell and they get disconnected and away, and they forget that they had the link on the repeater. So that's to do that. There are IRLP nets that you can check in with every Thursday and Sunday at 8 o'clock. Still happening today. The IRLP Procom net is held, inviting check-ins from around the world, which is an excellent chance to hear IRLP at its best. So if you ever listened into the Procom net on RQQ 444.300, we also have it on our Asterix VHF node 146.550 also. It's simulcast on there too. Everyone is welcome to participate in the net, of course. Guidelines for IRLP use. Do not connect your local node to a net during net times unless someone is acting as a local net controller. Makes sense. Do not make calls directly to other stations during a net. Well, you all know net protocol that way. Above all, no local conversations during the net while connected to a reflector. All right, and that. Do not attempt to call unless your local net controller has you as a pre-check-in. And of course, disconnect our node if any local interference is present. So if all of a sudden RQQ is getting all kinds of static and hash noise and interference or something, and it's tying up 50 other repeaters around Ontario, well, we disconnect our node from it. And keep your check-in short and to the point. Remember that several hundred others may be waiting for a chance to check in. In some of the international IRLP nets, there are hundreds of people from around the world on there, and it gets very busy. Manitoulin Amateur Radio Club, History of Our Node, number 2860. The club repeater V3LTR 14667, which is in Kagawan right now, used to be in Little Current, and it used to have our first node. It was located at McLean's Mountain in Little Current. It was a Yaesu FT 2410 repeater. It was only 10 watts. It had an SCOM 7K controller connected to it. And it started with an IBM Pentium 2 266 megahertz with a Sound Blaster audio card. Oh my God, was this a beautiful repeater or computer in its time. I remember when we got this, oh, this is overkill. Like, oh, who the heck would ever have a Pentium 2 computer? Like, that was crazy, right? Now this thing, I don't know if it would ever run. So, but that's what we started with, and it's amazing. And of course, we had high-speed internet connection provided by MSD computers in Little Current at the time. So it worked out not too bad. This is what our shack or the actual repeater LTR originally looked like.
Look at that state-of-the-art monitor.
Yeah, isn't that something? Monochrome monitor
PRT,
there.
Right, 5 foot deep.
And there was a computer there, the Pentium 2, and we thought we were in heaven with that thing, running it. And of course, we had the SCOM 7K controller.
See you later, Frank.
Yeah,
Did
LTR,
that use Linux or did it use Windows?
No, this was Linux back then. Yeah, it was quite the system. And this was back in early
Awesome.
2000s, right? So, I mean, this 2001, whatever it was put up, and that. So it was state of the art back then, you know. I mean,
Still is.
well, yeah. Anyway, and there's Carl. Yes, okay, you are aboard, Carl. Good morning to you, and thank you for coming aboard. I'm just talking how you and Jack got hooked up on IRLP, and that's what we're doing now. This is what our system looked like. Located at McLean's mountain site back there. Again, the Yaesu FT2410 only put 10 watts out, but I mean, it worked locally. SCOM controller, and again, it was operating the Linux Red Hat 6.2 operating system at that time, Bob. So that's what happened. And of course, we did have high-speed internet connection right at the tower site, which was really lucky to have that located at that time. So this is what we were first on, the old tower that is still erected there. It's a 64-foot Delhi up at that, and this is the front part of McLean's Mountain. We were in the building adjacent to this, but at that time, there was a new tower going up by MSD Computers to put on their local radio station for their radio station. And the Delhi 64-foot tower was 30 years old, so it was getting old. It's still up there today. So that was 30 years, add another 20, it's 50 years old there now. Wind damage to the top section. You can see the top section is gone over the years, and it's shared with the Manitoulin Health Center Hospital and CFRM 101.1 FM radio station at that time. So they decided to put up the new tower and that. So this is assembling some of the tower parts on the ground. It was winter. We were still able to drive up there and get up the hill before it got too thick. And it was a brand new, at that time, Delhi 96-foot heavy-duty Trilon tower. It replaced the old tower, a joint venture between the Manitoulin Health Center, CFRM, and of course our radio club, the Manitoulin Amateur Radio Club at that time, and holds antennas for 3 systems. So this is the crane that we hired to come in and insert the tower system. And of course, it was running Craig's radio station at the time. It was the paging system for the local hospital for the doctors. And we had our LTR repeater with our internet connection connected to it at that particular time with it. We hired a 100-foot crane. It was a 3-venture operation. The health center owned the property here. MSD Computers bought the tower and erected the tower and that. And the Manitoulin Amateur Radio Club rented the crane. We paid for that crane to come in and do all the work with it. So it was a 3-event thing that we did. The weight of the tower antenna, approximately 1,800 pounds with it. And over 8 yards of cement was used in the base to keep that tower. It was self-supporting, 100 foot up at the top of the hill there. So it worked fairly well. And that's another picture of it when it went up, and you'll see the 4-bay dipole that's up here at the top. My cursor is going over the picture there. That was the repeater antenna. It was the V3 LTR antenna is a Sinclair 210C4 halfway dipole array with about 9 dB gain feed with the new 1/2-inch Andrews Heliax with type N connectors. So it was a pretty good setup that we had at that particular time with it. And height of the antenna was approximately 1,100 feet above the water level. So it provided a fairly good coverage from up there. And that, just to continue on, we had a gentleman go up and, tie in a lot of the information. At the top was the antenna for the radio station, Below it was the dipoles for the paging system directed towards little current. And then we had our system, and our internet link was a little dish here that you saw that brought the internet connection up from down in little current up there. And we were looking at a Trillium grant at that time to upgrade the system to include higher power repeater, which provided further coverage for Manitoulin and the North Shore and that. The grant never came through, but we did get further. As you saw, we moved over to the other building and we further included stuff. But then we had a disaster strike. We had a windstorm that took place. And February 2011, the windstorm took down the tower. And you wouldn't think that a tower like that would crumble and that, but it did. What happened was the internet connection changed. Now, luckily, we had converted over to the other building. So we had already taken down the 210C4 antenna and put it up on the commercial tower across this property here on the 300-foot tower. All right, so we weren't actually in this. Craig went in and used it for internet, and they put one of those 6-foot or 4-foot flat dishes at the top, a big square. And what happened during a windstorm, they didn't brace it properly.
It was a sail.
Yeah, what it did some of this with the tower and started twisting in the wind, and it twisted and it brought down the luckily it didn't crash on top of the buildings here. There wasn't any damage. It buckled right here.
That tower, you could stand at the base of that tower and look up, and it had a lean to it for years from I don't know, how old was that tower?
Well, it was put up in I think the early 2000s. So
but
yeah.
it was almost like a tree that's on top of a mountain that grows in one direction because the wind is pushing it in one direction all the time. So it wasn't straight to begin with whenever he put that up there.
That's right.
It had a bow to it.
It never had any guidelines holding
No,
it
that's
up in the
it's a
section?
freestanding tower. It's a freestanding tower.
Okay.
Yeah.
Judy's just calling me for a sec, so carry on, Rusty. You can.
Yeah, it's a freestanding tower, and that's about, maybe 15 feet off the ground, where it couldn't have come down in a better spot because it didn't hit anything. And I rented a demolition saw, and we went up there and cut it up into little pieces so Craig could dispose of it. And only set the field on fire about half a dozen times. It was dry up there when we cut it apart. Yeah, it looks like that snow. Yeah, it was February. Yeah, I don't think we cut it down until things had dried, or cut it up until things had dried up a little bit, because I remember distinctly having to put out a few small brush fires there that were caused by the sparks coming off of that demolition saw, But anyway, yeah, that was used for it's ViaNet now, but back in the day it was OmniGlobe. I think they were contracted by the government to put up about 20 towers on Manitoulin Island back in around 2010 or something like that, trying to bridge the gap, and it's still that way today. There's a lot of places on Manitoulin that can't get the internet, but they got like $20 million from the government to put up these towers. Okay. And they were supposed to build 20 towers. And what they did, the government saw 11 sites come online. So they paid these guys. And as soon as they paid them, they promptly filed bankruptcy and took off with the money. And Craig found out about it after this tower went down. They put antennas like this on 2 existing towers, which they should not have done. They weren't allowed to do that on this tower, and I think one that was owned by Manitoulin Transport in the Gore Bay area. And when Craig called to check on if they had any insurance from this, somebody from the government answered the phone and said, those guys are gone, so
yeah,
rude awakening there.
Yeah, for sure. So again, luckily there was no damage done to our buildings, but there's a closer look at how this Trilon heavy duty antenna can easily buckle in the wind. You wouldn't think it could happen, but this is how it came. And
That's called metal fatigue, man. You
yeah,
wiggle something back and forth long enough, no matter how strong it is, it's going to break.
yeah, it was quite something. And of course, when you looked at it on the ground, that's exactly what it looked like when it came down, and wasn't too good. So
Look at the direction it came down, though. I mean, it came
yeah,
down in it was supposed to come down in that direction because
yeah,
there was a fiber optic link there. Those cables going,
right over here.
coming
Yeah,
out. Yeah, that was the fiber optic link from Craig's stuff over to the other building. And if it would have come down, it would have taken that out. It would have taken that coax out. It would have, it would have taken it all out. So it couldn't have come down in a better spot.
no, that's for sure. So we were quite lucky with it. But then we moved over to the new building, and this is what the node looks like today. We have our D-Star on the left-hand side here, and then this is a new flat screen monitor, the new computer that we have. Now, not for our node, this was the old computer. We'll show you that where we've since upgraded from this picture, but we're still using the Motorola MSF 5000 repeater. Works extremely well, touch wood. It's been running now for a number of years and still holding up. It's a 100-watt repeater with it. Uses UHF 444.300, and it's connected to, we had a Pentium 4 computer connected to it, so we upgraded it quite a bit. And then, of course, the internet was with MSD, which we're still connected to today. But we have APS. We were talking about APS, having the computers plugged into an APS supply, or UPS, I should say, which is here. And of course, we have the controller, the repeater itself, and the system connected to it. So again, we're now on the 210C4, which is at the top of the 300-foot tower, and works very well. It's on the other side. It's not the 210C4, it's the 310C4. You can't see the antenna. This is the 310C4, but this is the UHF DMR, the 442050. The 444.300 is this size antenna on the back side of the tower here. And that's what we're using today.
That antenna is facing what, east?
It's facing west.
West? Okay.
Yeah, facing west. This is now what we're using as the new IRLP computer. Back in 2019, the Pentium 4 bit the dust, and we went to a Raspberry Pi 4, and this is the actual the computer that we're using up at the hill. It's plugged into the IRLP system, and it's just operating like gangbusters. It's been doing a good job, touch wood. It's been running now for 2 years up there without any hiccups, and it's on a Raspberry Pi 4 and doing really well.
So
And,
this is programmable through an SD card?
yes, yep.
So you just bring the SD card at, let's say, at your house, and if you have to make any changes,
We
you
put
can
the
program it.
IRLP image in it, plug it
Okay.
in, hook it into
Yeah.
the internet up there, have the radio interface or the repeater interface to it, and set the audio levels, and away you go.
So
You could
is
run
this
one
a
of these.
Wi-Fi connections or?
No,
No.
if you notice, there's a plug here for the internet.
Yeah.
We have the internet cable plugged right in there because we have
Okay.
a router up at the tower site, and it's given an IP address on that. So
Okay.
yeah.
Now, I have a question.
Yes, please.
On Echolink, I noticed that they do have IRLP C91.
Yep.
Is it possible to connect into that?
Absolutely.
Just
So,
type the numbers on your computer, I guess, eh?
Exactly. We have the Echolink turned off right now.
Okay.
All right. We have the ability to turn Echolink on, and Echolink, when it first came out, was a bit of a problem because people elsewhere can control your local repeater. And if it wasn't set up properly. You never were allowed to turn off the announcements before. But what would happen, and I think Eugene, is Eugene still on here? Yes, Eugene's here. You used to have Echolink on TOP, isn't that correct, Eugene?
Did have it for a while, yes.
Yeah, and one of the issues was when the TOP net was running, all of a sudden you would hear coming across people checking in locally, IRLP link 5672 connected. And that would be over top of what you're trying to check in and say. And then all of a sudden, Echolink disconnected 5072 disconnected. And people were connecting, unconnecting, connecting, unconnecting, and all this noise was going on, and it created, and there was no way initially. Now, what they did was they've updated the software to control Echolink, and now you can disconnect those announcements. So it's a lot easier. And SRG in Sudbury has Echolink connected to it. And I know the gang in Sudbury use it quite a bit on their SRG repeater. I know Ted and Doug up in Elliott Lake have used it to connect into the SRG. I think Lou did once, twice, or so. So I mean, it's a good option, and I mean, all I have to do is go into the computer and turn on the Echolink, assign an Echolink number to it, and we could have Echolink so that if a lot of people are using Echolink. So it's there and it's a possibility. We just haven't turned it on. That's the only issue with it. But the new software now. So usage of the Manitoulin IRLP system is open only to paid Mark members. Well, this has changed since then. We open it up to anyone. Anybody that can access it can use it. I mean, you don't have to be a member. We would like you to be a member, but you don't have to be. Visiting amateurs to the area wishing to call home or other areas can use it. We've kept that as an open system. No problem at all. Aries nets or other emergency measure situations, you know, usage on it. And of course, CanWarn nets and other weather emergencies are also can be used, and we can link into other areas that are having CanWarn emergencies so that we know what's going on Manitoulin and that with it. The advantages of having this type of system as of January 1st, 2020, you'll now be able to communicate with over 3,440 repeaters around the world in over 21 countries that are connected to the system. When away traveling throughout Canada or the US, you're able to link back to the V3RQQ repeater on Manitoulin and talk to the local gang here. Participate in worldwide nets plus emergency nets, etc. And DX contacts for amateurs without HF endorsement. So if let's say you don't have basic with honors, but you just have basic license, you can get on there and talk with people around the world. Make new ham friends from different parts of Canada and around the world, and that's how we have Carl. That's been part of our club here and joins us VK2CRH from outside of Sydney there, Blue Mountain. And less expensive cost of IRLP than maintaining a radio repeater link with only another repeater like before. So we can do a lot. And as the Mark becomes one of the first clubs in Northern Ontario to keep up with the technology supporting the IRLP, and still boasts as having one of the best repeaters in Ontario, V3RMI at the time. And of course, your membership includes the IRLP system. Is it used? I doubt it. Not too many people know. We advertise a little bit about it. And that. So 2 websites that you want to check out. You can copy these down. www.irlp.net and the Ottawa Amateur Radio Club have a good information on IRLP too at the KW. Hey?
Kitchener,
Kitch-
Waterloo,
Yeah. What did I say?
Ottawa.
Ottawa.
Oh, Ottawa. I'm sorry. Kitchener Waterloo. Sorry. I was thinking of the Ottawa Club. No. Org. And that. And we'll show you those links here in a minute. So I'll leave them up.
A question,
All right.
Al?
Yeah. Questions, comments, and let's do a demo. So that's what I've got here. Let me just unshare
That
this.
Raspberry Pi 4 for the repeater there, you must have a cooling fan on that thing.
No, we don't. As a matter of fact, we have the fins on it, but we haven't had a thing on it, and we haven't had any issues with it. Believe it or not. What Dave Cameron? That was from Dave Cameron, and he was using it, and it doesn't take as much energy as some of the other systems, and so far we haven't had any heating issues with it. So it's been running okay. And normally, you know, there is fans and there is circulation. We have ventilation fans in the shack up the top of the hill, so it's not too bad that way. But no, I don't have a specific. Now we have one on the DMR, the MMDVM board, running that with a hat, because boy, does that ever heat up the pies. But this doesn't. This IRLP image doesn't seem to be, because it's not using a specific hat on top of it. It uses a
Good, thank you.
interface. Yeah.
Al,
Yes, go ahead.
Al, I was just wondering if I'm sitting here in Waterloo
Yeah.
and I can get up there via my hotspot or through IRLP. You want to talk about the difference?
Sure, I can do that easily. Just give me a second here. I'm going to bring up a website here. Okay. All right. So let me go down
Connect
here.
to 2871 here in Newmarket. You can do a demo that way.
Okay, that's good. What is it? 2871?
Yeah, 2871. It's VA3PWR.
Okay, give me 2 seconds. So what I'm going to do here is we'll show you the link, the website first of all, and this works out pretty good if you go to this particular website. So everybody can see the internet connection. So I have a heading here called IRLP, and going here. So this is the website for it, called IRLP. And what you do here is you go over to the left-hand side and you'll see a list of headings. You go to the active node status, okay? You clicked on active node. And now what happens is you'll get a list of IRLP reports. And now you go to list of nodes and frequencies. All right, so if you click on that, what happens now is you get the IRLP status page. And what this does is it lists all the repeaters and all the reflectors. So the first thing that you will see is a reflector summary. And this is the 4-digit number for those reflectors, okay, that are used. And if you look across, each reflector has 10 channels to a reflector, starting at channel 0 to channel 9. So there's actually 10 channels. And if there's a blank on this one, say the Vancouver reflector at 9,000, so how this would work is channel 0 here, this square, would be 9000. 9001 would be this channel. 9002 would be this channel. 9003, 4, 5, etc. So if you notice on 9005, there's 2 stations connected on that channel right now. And if you go down there right now on the East Coast reflector, 9050, which is on channel 0, there are 29 stations that are connected to that reflector right at this given time. And you can see the numbers around on the reflector system. Now, if you go up to the top, you're going to see all nodes, okay, or mini all nodes. Either one you can use, but I'll use all nodes, and you click on all nodes, which are all repeaters. And here are all the list. It's like a telephone directory. You have the node number, which would be your telephone number. Think of it, parallel it as along with the telephone. The call sign of that particular repeater, where the city is located, the province and the country, and the node frequency. What is the frequency of that particular repeater? And then, of course, the local time there, and whether it's sitting idle, which means it's not connected to anything, but it's up and operational. If you get a...
Is that where, Al, is that where the RQQ is located?
That's right. So if you get a red offline here, that means the internet connection at that repeater is offline. Okay, makes sense. If it's down, it means the internet is connected, but the internet is down. All right, if it's sitting idle, it means if it's green and idle, it means it's connected. And how long has it been since it's been last connected? You can see the time there. So does anybody remember what Manitoulин's number was?
2860.
So you look down the list for 2860. Let's go down for 2860. And what does 2860 show us? It shows us, oh, that's 24, sorry. Let's go down a little further. 2860. B3RQQ, Little Current, Ontario, Canada, 444.300. And it's sitting at 11:30, which is roughly the time now. And it's sitting idle. And it's been up and running 1 day and 14 hours before somebody's connected. So it's been sitting idle for 1 day and 14 hours before somebody connected to it. And that was probably back Thursday night for the ProComNet. So what you would easily do is, let me just change my audio here for a minute. Okay, am I going through now? Yeah, all right, there you go. All right, so let me grab a handheld here. So let me just turn on the handheld.
That audio is pretty hot there, Al.
Is it a little hot? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me adjust the audio settings. Speaker audio. How's that? Is that a little better?
Somewhere in between.
Somewhere in between there. How about there? Is that a little better there now? Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Anybody having trouble hearing me? Put it up more. I'm getting people putting it up more.
Good.
Okay, how about there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2. Put it down. Oh my God, people, I don't know.
Perfect.
Yeah, leave it there.
Leave it there.
All right. And that. So let me just go to my rig here.
Must be long distance.
Just getting to my radio to the right channel. So I've got a channel in my handheld. Again,
Not focused yet. There, it's getting there now.
okay, V3R.
Oh, yeah.
So when I key it up, this is the announcement that you get. Oh, okay, somebody's already keyed it up. So, all right. So DTMF pads and that, and we were going to try Andy first at 2871, right? So you get on the radio, the 3AJB for the IRLP link. Get the thing coming back, and I punch in the node 2871. So, oh, sorry, there we go.
Welcome to VA3PWR Newmarket, Ontario. Link on.
So now RQQ is connected to the V3PWR. I don't know if you heard it too well, in Newmarket, Ontario. All right. V3ORE, V3ORE, V3AJB calling. Is Andy not there?
And we'll try that again, and I'll have my radio, the correct radio set to be online. It has a very nice announcement when it keyed up, all about Manitoulin Island, where it's located. So working well anyway. V3AJB, V3OA.
So, okay, very good, Andy. You came through 100% that time, so it worked well. And we heard Eugene from Elliott Lake on there too, but he's going direct into RQQ. So,
Okay, I'll hang up this end, so
okay, yeah. So he's going to disconnect, and so he punched in 73.
Goodbye from VA3PWR repeater. Link off.
And now the link is shut off from PWR. So when
It's a very polite lady you have announcing. She had wished me all the best 73s, and have a very nice day.
Yeah, we have a very nice, that was, we used to have a member of the club that lived up here, a fellow by the name of Jason Moore, B3TGF. Thank God it's Friday. And he was a great young fella. And at the time he was dating this young, nice lady, and she had a beautiful voice, as you could hear. So we got her to record all the wave files on the connect and disconnect announcements. And when you connect to our repeater, it says, hello and welcome to the Manitoulin Island, the largest freshwater island in the world. You're now connected to the V3 RQQ repeater located in Little Current. Link connected. So it was pretty cool. And that with it. And then when you disconnect, it says, goodbye and thanks for visiting Manitoulin Island, the V3 RQQ repeater located in Little Current. 73 and have a great day. You know, and that's how it's disconnected. Now, every connection link is done personalized by every repeater or every
but I can't help with that yet.
Connection that way with it. So going back to the website, actually, when you have a look at it, for instance, let's, Carl's still on here. Carl, are you able to get into your repeater?
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's connect to Australia and show you what Australia sounds like. So What's the number again, Carl? 63 something?
6366.
6366. Here it is, the VK2 RBM, Sydney, Blue Mountains, South Wales, Australia, on a frequency of 147.05, and it's actually showing idle right now. So let me connect. So what I would do is I'd go to Carl's telephone number of his repeater, 6366. So we go to our radio, turn the radio on, key up, just let people know in case somebody is monitoring the repeater there and that, so that you're going to use it. And you go V3AJB for the IRLP link. Okay, so now it's connected, and now I'm going to key in 6366. Listen to their announcement connection. So I just punched in the 4 digits.
No, 6366, Blue Mountain, Sydney, Australia, VK2 RBM, link on.
There, maybe Callie got a key out of there. She's hearing all the monkeys and stuff in the jungle going crazy. So now I'll see if Carl is able to chat there. VK2 CRH, VK2 CRH. This is V3AJB, Ontario, Canada calling.
Yeah, Roger. V3AJB.
So you can hear there's an echo because he's coming across on Zoom, but also coming across on the IRLP through the local repeater. And that's from Sydney, Australia to Little Current, Ontario. That's how you can talk around the world without having big HF equipment or anything, using the local repeater to make connections on the system. Thanks very much, Carl, for coming back to me. It's great to link up, and we'll have to do this at some time when we're not on Zoom. So you take care. Have a wonderful morning there, and thank you for coming back. We'll head back to the Zoom on here. V3AJB in Ontario, Canada, now going clear and saying 7-3. So we'll do that.
7-3.
He said 7-3. And now I hit the tone 7-3. So put that in. And now we're disconnected from Sydney, Australia. So you can go through the list. You'll see all the countries, all the locations. If you're traveling through the US, just about every, if a radio club is going to have a link system, the chances are they're going to have IRLP. And the list just goes on right across the world with the connections. If you go to a reflector, and we go back to the reflector list that you saw here, it's kind of interesting. Here's an interesting reflector here, 9010.
Welcome to the Discovery Reflectors main channel. I'm Colonel Chris Hadfield, Victor Alpha 300G from the Canadian Space Agency. This channel is home to ERA school contacts and various educational and scientific events.
So there's Colonel Chris Hadfield, amateur V300G, and an astronaut. And when they're doing the school to the International Space Station, it's multicasted on this reflector, so that you can connect to this and listen to that type of information with it. Well,
which number was that, Al? Was that 9,000 or 9,010?
It's 9,010. It's called the Discovery Reflector. And when they're operational, you'll see a number in one of these channels. So I'll just disconnect from it. 7-3. Listen for the disconnect.
This is Colonel Chris Hadfield, Victor Alpha 3 OOG from the Canadian Space Agency. Thank you for joining the Discovery Reflectors main channel. Please join us again.
And now we're disconnected that way with it. There's other interesting connections. Let's see. Just gonna look up here. Okay, this is an interesting one. Dallas, Texas, 9450.
Welcome to the Lone Star Reflector, 945 in Dallas, Texas.
Nice little accent there, or maybe it's not considered an accent, but
Doesn't have the
interested.
accent. Y'all have the accent, not him.
Yeah, that's right, Rusty. So disconnect from that.
Al, if you connect to, let's say,
Thanks for visiting the Lone Star Reflector, number 945 in Dallas, Texas. Y'all come back now, you hear?
So, sorry, go ahead with your question.
Yeah, if you connect to, let's say you pointed out the East Coast reflector with 29 people on there.
Correct.
Now, if you connect to that reflector, do they hear the announcement? Do they get an announcement that you've connected?
No, they don't hear anything, and that's the nice thing about it. The only time you hear that, like I will hear it on our repeater, but they're not going to hear that coming in because there's to reflectors, they don't relay the information. So that's why you need to listen. So right now on channel 0, which would be 9050 on the East Coast reflector, there's 29 people. So let me connect to that. 9050.
Welcome to the East Coast Reflector. Link active.
So it just says link active. So if I wanted to find out who was connected to it, I would click on 905.
5 ATF, Montgomery County, Texas, listening on the portable.
So there's a channel that just called in on there. So if I go and click on 9050, it gives me the information on the East Coast reflector. It's where the longitude and latitude is.
5 ATF, this is KO4 EWR, Kentucky, go ahead.
There's Kentucky station in there. And what it does, what it'll show, here are all the channels that are connected to it. And if you noticed, I just keyed up.
Hey there, just out cruising around, following my wife on a bicycle, make sure she doesn't get hit by a car. It's my usual Saturday morning gig.
Now, depending on how they get into their local repeater, you hear the information, or you know, if he's.
Well, hopefully you ain't getting what we get back here in Kentucky out here right now. We got thunderstorms and rain back here right now. Over.
So you can hear their audio quality depending on how they're getting into their local repeater. The other guy was kind of scratchy. He's on the
I think we're going to see some of that tomorrow.
Hear the crackling?
Here, which is pretty much normal for north of here.
That's how he's getting into his local repeater. It's not our system.
Old analog FM.
Yep, you got her.
Are you kind of cutting in and out of the repeater right there?
See?
So,
He's saying you're cutting in and out of the repeater. So having said that, if you look at this, this shows who's connected. And if you notice 30 seconds ago, 2860 and little current connected, but I'm now connected to Victoria Harbor in Ontario, San Jose in California, Hemet in Echolink channel in California, Idaho, City of Dorval, Jackson, Deltona, Port Henry, Colden, Potsdam, Milton, Charleston, Auckland, Reno, Rockford, Juneau, Alaska, Inman, Idlewild, Morgan Hill, Kennewick, Huntsville, Jenkintown, Leesburg, Florida, Plattsburgh, Orange City, Florida, Inglewood, Florida, Claremont, Florida, Eden, New York. So those are all the repeaters that are connected to the system right now. We got 2 from New Zealand, 2 from Canada, and the rest from the USA. And if I talk on RQQ, all these repeaters will hear my audio coming through them. And that's the neat thing about this system is you can have nets, you can connect to stations around, have personal communications, repeater to repeater, or connect to a reflector and join a whole group. They have various nets on here, all kinds of activity. And the beauty of it is all you need is a UHF little radio to talk, as you saw Carl and I talked halfway around the world. Now, some people are argue, well, you're cheating because it's on IRLP and it's over the internet. But Carl and I would never talk, and we would have never connected had he not had IRLP and we had not have IRLP.
Al,
Yeah.
if those linked, for instance, 4301 City of Doral, it's at the bottom of your screen there.
Right.
If you tried just to connect to that,
okay, I'll show you what will happen.
Would that be busy? Would it come up busy?
I'll show you what would happen.
Okay.
So let me just connect. So I'm going to say 7.3 from that reflector and watch my connection at the top here. So I hit 73.
Goodbye from the East Coast reflector. Link clear.
So goodbye from the East Coast reflector, link clear. Give it a couple of seconds because there's lag time. I'm going to refresh the page. And if you noticed, I've disappeared now. Okay, so I'm not part of that connection anymore. So which repeater did you want me to connect to? You're muted, Andy. Can't hear you.
It doesn't matter, anyone, but 4301's at the top there.
Okay, 4301.
The node you are calling is currently connected to reflector 9050.
So I guess you could go on to that reflector and call
and call for that particular station. So yes, it will tell you if the reflector or that particular repeater is busy, and that's the beauty of the system. Like if you can't connect to a particular repeater, it will let you know where it is. So if somebody tried to connect, and I forgot to show you too, for instance, let me connect back up to this reflector.
Maybe you can explain the channels later on as well.
Okay.
Welcome to the East Coast reflector. Link active.
Okay, so now I've connected, the link is active. And if I refresh, give it a couple of seconds to refresh. Now you'll see little current is now connected at the top of this list here. Okay, on the reflector list. But let's go back to the all nodes channel. And now I'm going to look up little current, 2860. If I look, I'm not idle anymore.
Oh yeah, I see.
Over to the side, shows I'm now linked on 9050. So the suggestion is keep this in a bookmark, this repeater site, or this internet site for the IRLP. And if you want to use it, look up and say, oh, you know what? I'd like to talk to Santa Cruz, California, the 3149, the W6REB repeater, and that, oh, I can't because it's linked to 9612. So if I want to talk to that, I've got to go to 9612 and connect to that.
Al, I got a question.
Yes, please.
So what you're doing now is on 70 centimeters?
That is correct.
So, but now I see your list there, so I do see 2 meters as well. So this IRLP, so just designated to 70 centimeters?
No, if you look at the frequency, so for instance, if I wanted to connect to Vancouver,
Yeah.
B7 RHS, they're on a frequency of 145.27 on 2 meters.
Right.
So if you're in Vancouver, you have to have a 2-meter repeater. Okay, they have a 2-meter repeater that's connected on there. So
okay.
But if you're in Little Current or on Manitoulin Island,
yeah,
the only repeater that we have that has IRLP is our 440 repeater, V3RQQ on 444.300. So you need a UHF repeater here. So you're in Cambridge, right?
Guelph.
Or where are you, Colin?
I'm in Guelph.
Guelph.
Your own IRLP node. It's a little on the pricey side, but it's got everything that you need, and it's in a Raspberry Pi. It's powered by a Raspberry Pi. You don't have to dedicate a computer or anything to it. It's we looked into it. What's it, about $400 or $500 Canadian or something, Al?
Something like that
for the whole package.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a repeater in Guelph.
Yeah, there's. I think on the other list I seen Guelph on there.
Yeah. So you can go to that and call back up here, like I did with Andy in his repeater there.
Newmarket.
Calling Newmarket.
So your net that you do, I forgot what night it was, through the repeater. I wouldn't be able to get through that because I don't have a 70-centimeter radio.
Yeah, but you could, excuse me, Al, it's John BB here. You could connect in through VE3 WFM. That's John Riddell's station, and his node. I've forgotten what it was. 2430.
2430. So let's go.
Yeah,
to
and he's so he's on 147.
Okay.
Oh, 2430. Sorry, I was looking. 2430. It's not listed here.
2430.
2430 goes from 2410 to 2450. Is it offline? Could be offline if it's
it's okay. It says right here it's been down for a long time.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
All right. So, but having said,
Hi, Al.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's Rich over here in Elmira.
Yes.
John, he just reordered the parts and it should be going back up, but 2404 is Elmira, just north of Waterloo.
Oh, okay. Here we are right here, Elmira, 2404, and they've got two. So depending on what you got, can you get into Elmira, Colin?
We do go in it, but I see it's 70 centimeters, so we don't have a radio that's 70 centimeters, so we do 2 meters.
You've got a 2 meter. Your node number, can you see here on the screen?
Yes.
2403 V3 ERC in Elmira, Ontario, on a frequency of 147.
Oh, right. Yeah.
.390.
Yeah, we're on that all the time.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll show you. Stand by.
What I've put in my radios is where you can program, particularly in the ID 5100, where you can program the name of the repeater or whatever. I've got, for instance, VA3 PWR, and then I've put IRLP 2871 right along with the information that displays on my screen.
Very good idea.
Yep, that's an
You are
excellent.
currently connected to reflector 9050.
Okay, let me
I don't know
disconnect.
if I can show that. I can't show that very easily.
Goodbye from the East Coast reflector. Link clear.
Okay, so now I'm going to connect to Elmira.
Node number 2403. Link active.
Right.
So now. V3AJB in Little Current, Ontario, monitoring. So I don't know, you may not have your radio turned on there.
V3 Delta Charlie Charlie in Elmira.
V3 Delta Charlie Charlie in Elmira. This is Victor Echo 3 Alpha Juliet Bravo. Name here is Alan. We're located in Little Current, Ontario. And we're just doing a Zoom demonstration of IRLP. And we've got a couple of people that live in your vicinity that are watching how the IRLP works. So very good morning to you. Thank you for coming back to the call. And we'll turn it back to you. And I've got about 20 some odd people on Zoom watching this taking place. So back to you. V3AJB in Little Current. The name is Alan.
QSL, Alan, yeah, there were 19 plus me on that channel. I just thought that I should come back because you do want some feedback from this node. Anyway, we're standing by. Really enjoying your session this morning, by the way. Very well done. V3DCC, and we'll stand by for your final.
DCC, are you connected on Zoom?
Is that Richard?
QSL, it's Rich. V3
Oh.
Delta Charlie Charlie.
Okay, very good, Rich. I was confused. I didn't recognize the call sign there and that. Okay, well, there's an excellent demonstration how if Colin wanted to talk back to Manitoulin, he could do it locally there. So, all right, sir. Thank you. We'll see you back on Zoom. V3AJB clear, and I'll let you disconnect at your end.
I'll be V3DCC disconnecting the link.
So he types in 7.3. No, didn't take. Didn't take there, Rich. There he goes.
V3DRQ, you seem to be having a little difficulty hitting 7.3. I'll do it for you.
Oh, it's Ted.
Node number 2403. Link clear.
So there you go.
I see 2986 is in Guelph.
2986. So we go down 2986.
What page are you on, Al? I can't seem to find it. I'm on my other computer. I'm looking at it here on the laptop, but I don't see what the page you're on.
Okay, so what you do is you go over to the left side here, click on active node status. Let me go back. Active node status. When you click there, this is what you should see, Doug.
Okay. Oh, what happened here? All right. I got RLP status page. That's what I'm looking at.
IRLP status page.
Yeah.
So you got this right here?
I saw something.
IRLP status page?
That's the summary. Reflector summary? Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay.
Is that what you got?
Yeah, I'm on that page. Okay.
Okay, go up to the top here, follow me. Okay, you see where it says mini all nodes?
Oh, okay.
Click on that.
Ah, there we are. Okay.
It's
All right.
interesting. It also said that things that haven't been active for 5 days aren't listed.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, if it goes down, they don't want to have a bunch of stuff showing offline. It doesn't make the system look very good, right? And with it. But anyway, so that's a little bit about IRLP. It's available. We can connect as members of the group here on, and you don't need the fancy D-Star or the System Fusion or the DMR. All you need is a simple FM 2-meter or 440 handheld or mobile radio to connect and have fun.